Welcome back, everyone, to The Missing Touch. This is Midwest. So, today I want to talk about loss. I want to expand upon what it means to be alone and how I discovered just how lonely I am. Last week's video, I talked about defining loneliness, what it is. In that, I mentioned that loneliness is something where it's not just the feeling of absence, it's not just recognizing that you're alone, but it's realizing that you don't have anyone in your life to really care about you. You don't have anyone to validate your existence, and that can come in a whole sort of ways. That could be in ways of someone not caring to validate your feelings. That can be done by someone not calling you or simply asking you how you're doing. It can be by someone not caring about your feelings or wondering how you felt about something that happened recently. Not showing genuine interest in what you've done or where you're going in life and stuff like that. So all of that, really creates the emptiness that we feel in our lives. It's not so much just being alone, but it's all the surrounding elements of loneliness that really hurt someone. But over these past few years, I've accepted that loneliness is just going to be a fact of my life. I've given it, some thought, and given my condition in life where I'm 28 and I still live with my parents. I've never had a girlfriend. I have a terrible job, and I really don't have any expectation of, accomplishing anything, great in my life. It's not going to go anywhere. I don't expect to accomplish anything monumentous for myself. I just don't see myself ever having a wife or kids. And that was one of my dreams in my life, was to be able to start a family. I wasn't one of those guys that wanted a whole lot in life. I really just wanted very, very simple things. I just wanted a small house and a wife and kids. But I think men are conditioned to be very materialistic. In my case, I think a lot of men are conditioned to be very money driven, very status driven. And I think that's also why we're told to get certain jobs, to chase very specific things, chase certain types of women, chase whatever else, that sort of feeds a certain specific ego or a certain image of masculinity. But that wasn't really anything I had any interest in. And that, I think that also might have given off a certain perception to other men. But I really don't care. I just wanted a regular 9-to-5 where I could support my wife and my children if I had any. But I think that realization came to me, I want to say maybe a few years ago, where I looked at myself and where I was going in my life, and I asked myself, I can't afford to take care of myself. The reasonable thing is not to chase a goal that's not, going to be able to be accomplished. The reasonable thing to do is to try to do what I can to make sure that I can take care of myself and not put the burden on anyone else. And so that means that the only thing I really can do is just survive. That means I can't have any kids. That means I can't have a wife, because I don't want to hurt anyone in the process of my survival. And, it hurts to let go, because this was a dream, of mine. This was something I thought about a lot. This was part of the reason that I worked jobs that I hated. This is part of the reason that, I tried to educate myself. I tried to go to the gym. This is part of the reason I tried to wake up every morning and try and stay motivated regardless of how I felt. I tried to be optimistic, Not that I have much reason to be optimistic anymore, but I try my best to see the best in life, but it's slowly fading away. All I can be certain of now is that I'll pretty soon be 30 years old, and I will be alone. A part of me does care that I'm alone, but there's another part of me that says, this is okay. There's a part of me that says, you're alone, but you can use that. You have more time. You can do whatever you want. Is that a cope? At this point, I really don't care. And let's say I did have a wife. Would I really be a good husband? Would I be able to protect her? Would I be able to provide for her? Would I be able to make her happy? Would I be able to provide for her needs? I I have so little confidence in myself that if I can't provide for myself, I barely think I'd be a good enough husband to provide for someone like her or whoever. I don't think I'd be a good father either, given my own upbringing as a child. I didn't have any good examples of what it meant to be a father or what it meant to be a man. But this is a dream I had to let go. Just like bodybuilding I mentioned in the last video, after my injury I just felt a lot of pain in my back and I couldn't do it anymore. I had to change the dream, and I'm trying to lose weight. I had another dream that was canceled, literally. Within 2 semesters of going to art school. I can make another video about it, but basically I went to art school, and there were a lot of people that did not like me. They didn't like the way I talked. They didn't like my politics, and so I was booted out. I had to give up on that dream. And I'm not even so sure that dream is the right word, because I'm not so sure that these were really dreams. I think these things just were not on the table for me. For all I know, there might have been a reason why I was never meant to work as a concept artist or work as an animator. I still love drawing. I still do it, but it's beginning to lose that enjoyment factor. And that goes for a lot of my hobbies. The fun of it came from being able to express myself and being able to put on paper whatever I wanted. And it was so enjoyable with friends and with people that had similar interests, but I just don't have that nowadays. I feel like that's all vanishing, and I feel like a lot of people nowadays are just sort of in it for the money. It's always been like that, but even more so. It's just gotten to a point where people just stopped caring. They give up on having hobbies and interests. I've lost a lot of things in my life, and it just feels like no matter where I go, loss just finds its way towards me, and I'm not able to recuperate that loss. I'm never able to regain what I've lost. No matter if I have something in my life, it's somehow taken away. And I see there's a lot of people in my life that are, for whatever reason, blessed to gain more and more and more, whether it's social benefits or economic benefits or whatever. They're always going up somewhere in life, or they're meeting new people, or they're traveling, or whatever. And either I get stuck in a position that has no benefit, or I'm humiliated, or it just sort of feels like this sort of purgatory, if you will. Or I have something that I held dear taken away from me, or what little I have left is taken from me. Could be something as simple as a car, or something as very unimportant that I still need. It's frustrating. I just don't have a lot to my name. I don't have any accomplishments. I don't have any status. I don't have anything noteworthy to say that I've done. And I also just hate the normie conversations. Oh, what do you do for a living? And it's just like I'm a janitor. What do you want me to say? Do you want me to say like that I total I live alone with my parents, and I read a lot, but the reading amounts to nothing, uh, and I have all these varied interests, but I can't do anything with them. What am I supposed to tell like the barber? Like, oh yeah, I totally have interests in literature, anthropology, zoology, theology, and stuff like that, and I literally can't do anything with it. Like, no one, no one cares about that. No one else cares about that. Like, am I supposed to go to the barber and tell them that I've read James Prescott's work on body pleasure and the origins of violence, and that I have a whole thesis that agrees with the general premise of his work, but at the same time disagrees with some of the conclusions? You know, like no one's gonna listen to me because I don't have any certifications. I don't have any background, in anthropology, or psychology of the body. I'm literally nobody, and they're probably going to ask me, well, why do you have this interest, when it doesn't benefit you? You're just some guy that cleans toilets for a living, right? How does it benefit you to read this material? How does it benefit you to read Morris? Or how does it benefit you to read works on the personalistic norm? How does it benefit you to learn about the theology of the body, Christopher West? How does it benefit you to learn about the lived body? How does it benefit you to read Merleau-Ponty? I think there's something to be said about having all these interests that no one cares about. And then I'm going to have some guy come up to me and be like, well, if you didn't have all these interests in the first place, that's probably why you're a virgin at 30 years old living in your parents' basement. For all I know, he could be true, if I just put my head down, I didn't care, and I just got a trade job or whatever, and I was just like everyone else, and I drank myself to sleep, and I had normie interests like football and Marvel movies, maybe I wouldn't be in this place right now. What normal person cares about bark art, or what normal person cares about the 30 Years' War? Normal people don't have these interests. Normal people don't think the ways that people like you and me do. And because they don't think, about these sort of topics, it's probably the reason that they're able to sort of just think about the immediate now, the immediate situation of getting money and getting sex. Normal people don't spend their time reading articles on the Rothschilds. Normal people don't spend their time investigating the Freemasons or whatever. That's controversial. That would get them in trouble. You're not allowed to think about these topics. I mean, it also could just be that people that are just weird and social outcasts were just never meant to live a normal life. And that's me, and I was never meant to, live the life of someone, to have a family or have a normal job or whatever. I don't know. It could be a whole host of factors. People bring up genetics, people bring up fate, some people bring up, different ideas, but I don't know. What I'm trying to say, I guess, is I've accepted it. I've become accustomed to being alone. I'm not saying I'm happy. I'm not saying like that I would prefer it to be this way. I don't want it to be like this. I'd rather, have, the comforts that come with, having a family, the material comforts of having a good job and stuff like that, of having my own house. But that's out of, my cards. It's not, I can't have that. So what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to accept my current circumstances in life and just say, okay, these are the cards that I've been dealt, right? And I have to live with what I have. And I have to make do with what I have. It sucks. No one will want to be in my shoes, but how can I make the best of it? How can I, try to, use my time to be more creative, or at least find some enjoyment with what I have, what little I have, I should say. I'm not going to make any motivational videos saying like, you can do it, you can change your life around and you can get the hottest girl of your dreams or whatever, and you can make millions of dollars. No. I swear, most of those guys in that space are just grifters, and I like I said, I'm not gonna make anything like that. I'm not gonna get your hopes up, and those people got my hopes up too, and I spent like maybe a long time, maybe too long, I don't know, trying to chase something that was not attainable for me, so I've resigned myself to where I am in my life, and this is where I am. I've accepted it, and the most I can do for now is just accept that I'm at this point now, and I will try to attain goals that are attainable for me and not live out some sort of fantasy that, can never be accomplished.